So let us continue with our structs. And behind the scenes, what I've done is I have added a couple of functions, and let us see how we can implement all of these functions. So the first function that you can see over here, so this function is also about filtering, and we simply want to filter out the 7 wonders for which the countries start with I. So let us see how we can do this one. Let me copy this one and let me paste it right over here. Let me take all of these things a little up. So in this case, our truth function will change, and we simply want to compare the values and check if the name of the country starts with I or not. So let me take this one out, and this time we can rename the variable from country name to just country. And let us see how we can compare the first alphabet of our string with I. For this, let us use another module, and the name of the module is going to be string, and this module has a very convenient function of starts with. Now if I hover over the function definition, we can see that this function accepts two different parameters. So they have one example over here, Elixir and ELI. So in this case, Elixir starts with ELI, that's why we get the answer as true. So the first argument would be our country, and the second argument would be I. So let me open up the terminal. Again, let me recompile our module of 7 wonders. Let me clear up everything. Now let's invoke the function. So we can say 7 wonders dot countries which start with I, and let us pass all of the wonders to this one. And as expected, we get 2 wonders back. So the first wonder is made in India, the second wonder is made in Italy. The next function is sort by country length. Oh, before moving on, let us also add the type specifications for this one. So the specifications are pretty simple. This wonders is the list of our type of T, and this also returns a list of type of T. Alright, so now let us go to this sort function. So this time what we want to do is we simply want to sort all of the wonders by the length of the country name. So let us see how we can do this one. So if I go back to my terminal and let's check out for enum.sort. So we have a convenient function of sort inside the module of enum, and as you can see, it has a lot of documentation, but I wanted to show you a couple of key parameters. So this is the function of sort, and this function accepts 2 parameters. The first is the enum, and the second one is an sorter. Now this sorter argument can be of multiple types. So let us refer to the official specifications for this function, and let us try and figure it out. So the first is obviously your elements, and now for the second argument of sorter, we can see that we can pass a multiple of arguments. So what this specification is saying that either we can pass a function and this function receives 2 elements and this function has to return back a boolean value, or you can choose to pass this arguments as well. Now let us see how we can work with this one. So this is a pretty simple function that we can pass to our enum.sort. So let us go back to our code editor. Let us again use the arguments of wonder, and let us pipe this one to our enum.sort. Now here let us see how we can define the sorter function. So this is going to be your regular function. Now for each iteration, this function is going to receive 2 different wonders. So we can call them as X and Y. And next, for the body of the function, we can simply say that we want to check for the length of the string for the first one. And let's compare if this length is less than the length of the next wonder. So again, we can use the same function string.length, and let us pass the variable of y this time. So what we have done is we have defined a function, and for each iteration this function receives 2 different wonders, and we are simply trying to compare the length of these wonders, and that's it. So let me save the file, let me open up my terminal, and let me again recompile the module. Let's try to invoke this function 7 wonders dot sort by country length, and let us pass all of our wonders. Oh, we are getting an error, and that's because here we are trying to find the length of the entire struct. I forgot to specify the parameter that we want to check for the length of the name of the country. The same thing goes for this struct as well. So we want to check for the length of this country. Now let me save the file, open up my terminal. Let me recompile one more time, clear up the screen, And let us try to invoke this function one more time. So this time, as you can see, we have a nice sorted list. So as you can see, now the list is sorted according to the length of the country name. So Peru, this is 4 characters long, so this is the first one. Next is China, this is 5 characters. Again, then we have Italy and India, then we have Brazil, and so on. So as you can see, we have a nicely sorted list. So now let us go back and let us see what we want to do for the next one. So for the next function of name country list, so this function accepts our vendors, and I want an output like this. So the output has to be the list, and inside the list we want another list. The first element has to be the name of the 7 vendor, and the second name has to be the country. So let us see how we can do this one. So let me take out the comment. I don't need the comments. And before I show this one, let me take you back to my terminal and let me clear up all of these things. And this time let us check out the documentation for enum.reduce. Now this function of reduce, this is a very powerful function, and in fact you can implement all of the functions inside the module of enum by just using this simple function. So first let us see the function signature. So this function of reduce accepts 3 parameters. The first argument is for your enum, the second argument is for your accumulator, and the third argument is for your function. And we have one sample example right over here. So the first argument is a list, the second argument is for the accumulator, and the third argument that you can see over here, this is for a function. Now this function receives an element for each iteration, and this function also receives the accumulator. So for the first iteration, since the accumulator is 0, this would be 0, and for the first iteration our x would be 1. Now what happens with this function is that the result is passed as the accumulator for the next iteration. So you can read the documentation over here. So this is what is happening. So for the second iteration, whatever this evaluates to, so this value will become your new accumulator. So let us see this reduce function in action. So let us go back to our code editor. Now let us see how we can work with our reduce function. So we can say enum.reduce. The first argument is for our vendors. The second argument is going to be our accumulator. So as our initial accumulator, let us just pass an empty list. And the third one is going to be a function. Now let me do one thing. Let me take this one out and let us pipe into our enum.reduce. Now for each iteration, this function is going to receive 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be our vendor, and the second parameter is going to be our accumulator. So initially the accumulator is going to be a blank list, and for each iteration, what do we want to do? We simply want to create a list. Inside this list, we need another list, and inside this inner list, the first argument would be the name of the vendor, and second one would be the country of the vendor. So here we can say that from vendor, I simply want you to take the name, and the second argument is going to be the country for this one. And after this, we simply want to append our accumulator back. And that's it. Let me save my file. Let me open up my terminal. Let me recompile the module and let me clear up the screen. Let us invoke this function. So we can say 7 vendors dot name country list, and let us pass all of the vendors, and as expected we get the answer back. So here we can see the first argument is going to be the name of the vendor followed by the name of the country. Now just to give you some more practice, let us try and use this reduce function one more time. So for this function right over here, country name keyword list, so this is what I want you to do. So this function is going to accept our vendors, and this is the output that I'm expecting. So we want to have a list, and inside the list we want to create our keyword list. So as you can see, this is going to be an atom, and this is going to be the value. So let me just copy all of these things. Let me copy this one and let me paste it right over here. I don't need the comment. Let me take it out, and let us see how we can work with this function. Now here what I want to do is, we don't want an inner list. Instead what we want is a tuple. So let me change this from a list to a tuple. So let me explain why do I want a tuple. So let me open up my terminal. So for example, if we have a keyword list like this, A and 1, So this keyword list is actually saved as a list of our tuples. So in case if I have to pattern match, so on the left hand side, let us create one more list. And here if I create a tuple, the first element is going to be the atom of A, the second element is going to be the value of 1. So let us see if this is a pattern match or not. So yes, this is a pattern match. So what's happening is this keyword list is saved in this format. I think I have covered this while explaining keyword list as well. So this is a small recap for you. So this is the same logic that we are using over here. So that's why we want to have a tuple and not an inner list. Now the first element has to be an atom. So what I can do is let me wrap this inside, and we can convert this string to an atom by using our string dot to atom. And that's it. Now let me open up my terminal. Again, let us recompile our module and let me clear up the screen, and let us try to invoke this function 7wonders dot country name keyword list, and let us pass the arguments of all wonders. So this time, as you can see, that the first argument is going to be our atom and the value is going to be the name of the country. Now before going to the last function, I wanted to show you a couple of things. So again, let me open up my terminal. Let me clear up all of those things. So in case if you want to make a list of just the names of the wonders, we can use multiple modules. So let me show you one more alternate method. So we can say enum.map, and the first argument is going to be our argument of all of our wonders. And what we can do is we can simply invoke a function. So this function receives a wonder each time. And what we want to do is we simply want to return the name of the wonder, and we get back a list of all of the names. Now what we can do is Elixir actually offers a shorthand syntax. So what we can do is we can change this function to a shorthand syntax. So we can say that we want to send a reference to an anonymous function, and this function is going to receive a parameter. So we can say for the first parameter, we simply want to return the name back, and that's it. So this is the shorthand syntax, and we get the exact same answer back. So if you're comfortable, you can use the shorthand syntax, or else you can use the regular syntax. Now for the last part of this video, I wanted to show you the for comprehensions inside Elixir. We can get the exact same output by using the for comprehensions. So we can say for, and here we can say that for each iteration, we simply want to pattern match, and we want to extract the name inside a variable of name, and we want to extract this from our list of all of the wonders. And for each iteration, I simply want to return back the name of the wonder, and that's it. We get back the exact same result. Now this syntax is slightly weird. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to say that for each element out of this enum, we want to pattern match, and we want to pattern match on name. And for each iteration, we simply want to return the name back. So you can use any of the syntax with which you feel more comfortable. Now let me just copy this one and let me go back to my code editor. So for this one, let us use the for comprehension. Let me paste it right over here. We also need to pass an argument to the function. So this argument becomes for our wonders, and this also has to change to wonders. Now let me open up my terminal, let me recompile the module, and let me clear up this one, and let us try to run this one. So 7wonders dot all names. Oh, I forgot to pass the arguments. So all names, and the argument is all wonders, and we get back the exact same answer. Well, that's it for this video, and I will catch you in the next one.